I died on the way to buy my wife a late-night snack. When my soul drifted back to her, she was sobbing on the shoulder of her first love. If you hadn't gone abroad, why would I have married that loser? Reborn, I actively helped them become a couple. But would my wife, finally married to her first love, truly be happy this time? At 10 p.m., I received a call from my wife, Zhou Hui. Her tone was impatient and full of reproach. Didn't I tell you not to call me unless it's urgent? Are you annoying? I just wanted to ask if you're coming home for dinner. I was about to ask where she was so I could pick her up, but another man's voice came from the receiver. Is that Shall We? Why didn't you bring him to the college reunion today? He's been a house husband for so long. What common ground would he have with you big bosses? Bringing him would just be embarrassing. With the man, her tone softened considerably, but her words were like daggers, mercilessly aimed at me. Hey, Lin Hui, Brother Xiong is coming over later. Hurry up and heat up some late-night snacks for us. She hung up without waiting for my reply. Qi Xiaoxiong, a name surfaced in my mind. He was Zhou Hui's first love, the one she was head over heels for in college. But hadn't he been abroad for a long time? Why was he suddenly back? I had just set the warmed-up food on the table when Zhou Hui and her company, laughing and chatting, pushed open the door. Qi Xiaoxiong, dressed expensively, looked around the apartment as he entered, his eyes glancing at me with undisguised disdain. Shui, long time no see. Where are you working these days? Zhou Hui had clearly just told him I was unemployed and staying at home, yet he still knowingly asked, seemingly wanting to humiliate me. Without waiting for my answer, he sat down on the sofa as if he were the man of the house. Lin Hui, what is this you've made? Is this even suitable for drinks? Do you even think? Zhou Hui rushed to the bathroom to touch up her makeup as soon as she arrived. Coming out, she complained about the food on the table. Zhou Hui had a sensitive stomach and often had to drink for work, so I prepared some light and nourishing dishes for her. I thought you'd already had drinks at the reunion. Being criticized by my wife in front of others, I felt my face burning. You can't even do such a small thing right. Zhou Hui rolled her eyes. Hurry up and go buy some barbecue and beer for Brother Xiong. Remember to get it from Wang Ji's. Brother Xiong only eats from there. It's so late, and the roads are icy. Why don't we just order takeout, wife? I rubbed my hands, asking tentatively. She exploded like a firecracker. Ordering takeout now will take at least an hour. Do you want us to just sit here and wait? Our time is much more valuable than yours. Get out and buy it. Qi Xiaoxiong gave me a mocking smile. Feeling I couldn't stay in the house any longer, I grabbed my e-bike keys and rushed out. The icy roads were slippery. The freezing wind stung my face. We actually had a car, but Zhou Hui never let me drive it. I hadn't even sat in it more than a few times. I controlled my speed, trying to ride steadily. The shop was a bit far, and it took me about 20 minutes to finally reach its vicinity. Message notifications suddenly started popping up. Zhou Hui's angry urgings. Anxious, I started to accelerate, but I lost control of the bike while turning a corner and slid. A sharp horn blared. I was enveloped in a blinding white light, and the next second, I was hit head-on by an oncoming truck. Awakened by the shrill wail of a siren, I sat up in a daze, surrounded by uniformed figures who seemed oblivious to my presence. Captain, the doctor said there's no saving him. Contact the family, a young officer reported. I turned my head and saw my own body, covered by a white sheet, a large pool of blood staining the pavement. I was dead. It was a difficult and jarring conclusion to reach. My thoughts immediately went to Zhou Hui. I was gone, just like that, and I didn't know if she could take care of herself. She was successful in her career now, but still prone to carelessness, often leaving important documents and contracts at home, requiring me to deliver them. She was a picky eater with a limited palate, and I had worked hard to get her to gain some weight. She was also socially awkward, and I always handled client gifts and thank you gestures for her. I wondered if she would remember to do it herself this year. We had also been planning to have a baby recently. Thinking about all this, a deep sadness washed over me, but in my spectral state, I couldn't even shed a tear. I wanted to see her one last time, the woman I had loved for over a decade. As a spirit, I moved with incredible speed, arriving home in the blink of an eye. The apartment was warm, lit by a single, warm yellow floor lamp, making the space I had so carefully decorated feel even more inviting. Where is that Lin Hui? Why is he so slow? Zhou Hui said, annoyed. What's the rush? Isn't it nice having just the two of us? Qi Xiaoxiong subtly shifted closer to her. A blush crept up Zhou Hui's cheeks, and she playfully pushed him away. I'm married. Don't try anything funny. Hui, I'm just worried about you. I want you to be happy, Qi Xiaoxiong said with feigned sincerity that made me sick. But Zhou Hui seemed to lap it up. Her eyes reddened, as if brimming with unspoken grievances. How could I be happy without you? If you hadn't gone abroad, I would never have married that loser Lin Hui. Do you know how much I've suffered all these years, being with someone I don't love? Qi Xiaoxiong pulled her into a comforting embrace, looking every bit like a pair of long-lost lovers reunited. Fury burned within me. I floated between them, trying in vain to separate them, but they only held each other tighter. A ringing phone interrupted their passionate embrace. Zhou Hui sat up impatiently, and without looking at the caller ID, snapped, Lin Hui, you useless piece of trash. Does it take this long to buy some barbecue? If you don't come back soon, you can just die out there. There was a pause on the other end before a voice spoke. Is this Ms. Zhou Hui? This is the police station. Your husband, Lin Hui, was involved in a serious car accident near Wangji Barbecue. He has passed away. Please come and identify the body. Our condolences. Zhou Hui fell silent. I searched her face for any sign of grief, but after a moment, she simply said indifferently, I understand. Qi Xiaoxiong took her hand with concern and asked what was wrong. She nestled back into his arms, her expression showing a hint of relief. It's nothing serious. Lin Hui just got into a car accident. Is it serious? Should we go and see him? He's dead, but it's too late and it's cold. I don't want to go out. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Hearing those words, I was consumed by an icy rage. The woman I had loved with all my heart for so long could be so cold, so indifferent to my death, even eager to rekindle a romance with her old flame. No, her feelings for Qi Xiaoxiong had probably never faded, and all those years, she hadn't spared even a sliver of affection for me. I was going insane. My spirit, torn apart by resentment, let out a pained roar, even affecting the lights, which began to flicker rapidly. Hey man, you can't do this. We don't accept ghosts with such strong resentment. You'll be destroyed if you keep this up. Suddenly, someone patted my shoulder. I felt a sense of calm wash over me. Turning my head, I saw a young man with an extremely pale face standing behind me. You're lucky to have run into me. I can give you a second chance at life. You know the saying, revenge is a dish best served cold. But there's a price to pay after you're done. He whispered in my ear. So, what do you think? It's not a small price to pay. I don't need to think about it. I accept, I said, clenching my fists, my eyes filled with hatred and unwillingness to accept my fate. Why should Zhou Hui and Qi Xiaoxiong, that despicable pair, get to live happily ever after while I was condemned to oblivion? I wouldn't accept it. I wouldn't let myself die so quietly. I wanted to see if Zhou Hui could maintain her current status without me, and whether their love would remain so passionate without me in the picture. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on the bed in my college dorm. The time showed 11 p.m., and it was already lights out, but there were still people yelling in the room. Zhou Hui, can you stop making a scene? I already told you. That girl was the one who kept chasing after me. I never even gave her the time of day. Are you really thinking of yourself as a princess now? I'm so done with you. Calm down and stop disgusting me. It was Qi Xiaoxiong. I must have gone back to my junior year. Zhou Hui had fallen in love with Qi Xiaoxiong at first sight during the freshman year military training when he was playing guitar in the crowd. She pursued him relentlessly, but Qi Xiaoxiong was never the type to settle down. He kept stringing her along, neither agreeing nor rejecting. It wasn't until the second semester of our sophomore year that he probably got tired of the game and reluctantly agreed to try being together. But even then, dating didn't stop Qi Xiaoxiong from flirting around. They would have small arguments every 3 days, and every time Zhou Hui would threaten to break up, but within a couple of days, she'd be crying and begging for reconciliation. Qi Xiaoxiong and I were roommates, and after every fight with him, Zhou Hui would come to me, crying and complaining. In my previous life, I was moved by her pitifulness and sincerity and developed feelings for her. I secretly cursed Qi Xiaoxiong for not knowing how to appreciate such a good girl. But looking back now, She probably just wanted to use me to make Qi Xiaoxiong jealous. Later, when she realized my feelings, she thought having a devoted backup was not such a bad thing. She knowingly enjoyed my kindness while pretending to be oblivious, using the PUA technique she had learned from Qi Xiaoxiong on me, becoming more and more manipulative. Thinking about all this made my teeth clench in anger. I hated myself in my previous life for being so blind, getting played by these two. Qi Xiaoxiong, what time is it? Can you keep it down a little? Have some class. The dorm leader, Qinja, spoke up. In my previous life, I was the type to let people walk all over me, but Qinja was always blunt. You're the one causing trouble. Do you see anyone else complaining? Qi Xiaoxiong, feeling embarrassed, still retorted. Xiao Hui, do you think I'm disturbing you? If you're going to argue, take it outside. You're not the only one in the dorm, and no one's here to baby you. I replied coldly, not giving him any face. Qi Xiaoxiong seemed stunned by my attitude and didn't say anything for a long time. I ignored him and turned to pull the blanket over me, not noticing the subtle change in Qin's gaze towards me. Sure enough, the next morning, Zhou Hui was standing at the bottom of the boys' dorm building. When she saw us coming down, she deliberately came up to me in front of Qi Xiaoxiong, trying to grab my arm, but I pulled away. She looked surprised but didn't give up and tried again to pull me. This time, I directly shoved her hand away and stepped back 2 paces, putting some distance between us. Zhou Hui, if I'm not mistaken, you already have a boyfriend. Please don't try to get involved with me. Have some self-respect. My voice wasn't too loud, but everyone around could hear clearly, and many curious gazes turned towards her. Her face immediately turned bright red. Lin Hui, you'll regret this, she shouted, then quickly ran off. Regret? The one who should regret is not me. I came back this time to make sure that you two lovebirds would regret everything. After Doyang Zhou Hui, I felt refreshed and ate an extra bowl of rice at lunch. Just after lunch, the counselor called Qinja and me to the office. There are only 2 spots for the full scholarship exchange program abroad. Based on your grades, it's the 2 of you. Go back, fill out this form, and give it to me. Yes, I should have been the one going abroad, not Qi Xiaoxiong. Zhou Hui wasn't in our major. She always thought Qi Xiaoxiong was a top student. In reality, he barely maintained average grades by copying my homework and cheating. There's no way he would normally be considered this kind of opportunity. But in the past life, he used Zhou Hui as an excuse, saying they had already broken up, and that Zhou Hui would be even more miserable seeing him every day. He said he knew I liked Zhou Hui, and if he went abroad, Zhou Hui would eventually fall for me. At that time, I was blinded by my infatuation, and I actually agreed to it. I ran to the teacher, pleaded, and somehow managed to get him the spot. After Qi Xiaoxiong left, I did get together with Zhou Hui, but she was always lukewarm towards me. After we got married, she found out somehow that I was the one who gave Qi Xiaoxiong the chance to go abroad. She was convinced that I deliberately tried to break them up and never showed me any kindness. Starting over, I have my own plans. I genuinely don't want to go abroad. But I'd give this spot to a dog before I'd give it to Qi Xiaoxiong again. Shall we? Have you decided whether or not to go abroad? Qin just stopped me as soon as we walked out of the office. I was a little puzzled, but I answered truthfully, I'm not going abroad. I have some other things I want to do. I see. Qinja looked relieved. That's perfect. I'm planning to start a business. Are you interested in joining me? I recalled that in the past life, Qinja did start his own business very early on. He was born into a wealthy family, had strong capabilities, and found the right opportunity. His company took off quickly. You could say he achieved financial freedom right after graduation. But he didn't invite me in the past life. Why did he suddenly change his mind now? Of course, I'm honored to be invited by Brother Zhe. But can I ask why you chose me? Qinja happily patted my shoulder. I've always thought highly of you, but I used to think you were a bit muddle-headed, even letting someone like Qi Xiaoxiong manipulate you. But, well, you seem to have grown up now, so of course I have to seize the talent. He finished speaking, and we exchanged a knowing smile. Then this spot? Qinja hesitated again, a little worried. Don't worry, Brother Zhe, I know what I'm doing. My expression became firm. In the past life, I lost the opportunity to go abroad, and Qinja didn't invite me to join his team. Fortunately, my ability and EQ were enough. I started by taking on odd jobs and gradually gained a group of loyal clients. Zhou Hui had high material needs and didn't like working, so she put all the pressure on me. To satisfy her various demands, I worked day and night in the studio. When the studio finally turned into a company and started to take shape, I also fell ill. Seeing my weakened state, Zhou Hui offered to help me manage the company. Before that, she had never even brought me a meal. The illness I contracted during that time was too severe, and I was slow to recover. Zhou Hui proposed marriage, and the company became our joint property. But she used my poor health as an excuse to keep me away from the company. Later, I became a house husband, and she transformed into a successful businesswoman. I remembered what the pale man had told me before I was reborn. I can let you be reborn once, but the price is that for the next 3 lifetimes, your luck will be extremely bad. You may be poor and destitute, or plagued by disease. Are you willing? In the past life, Zhou Hui and Qi Shaoxiong sacrificed me to embrace a bright future, but they abandoned me like a worn-out shoe, even letting me die in the street. I paid such a terrible price for this one chance at revenge. How could I possibly waste it? This time, I will personally crush them into the dust. Before long, Qi Shaoxiong, who had heard the news, cornered me in the dormitory. Xiao Hui, listen to your brother. Just give me this spot to study abroad. Once I go abroad, won't your relationship with Hui Hui be secure? Brother is helping you here. He shamelessly rambled on, as if he had done me a great favor. Brother Xiong, it's not that I don't want to help you, but your grades are really... I pretended to be in a difficult position. Qi Shaoxiong, seeing that I seemed to be wavering, approached me with a sly look. Isn't this matter finalized after the final exams? The final exam grades can also be counted. Help your brother out. I stalled for a while before reluctantly agreeing. He immediately and joyfully invited me to have a drink to celebrate. I politely declined, sneering inwardly. He probably wouldn't be smiling for much longer. During this time, Zhou Hui came to see me several times. I didn't reply much, occasionally sending her a word or two to keep her hanging. I couldn't be bothered with her, but she became increasingly enthusiastic towards me. It's no wonder people like her and Qi Shaoxiong are really a match made in heaven. Qinzhou was very efficient. The company was set up quickly. Besides me, there were several other students from other departments, all top performers in their fields. The only girl was Zhu Yu, a major in advertising, who was mainly responsible for the marketing department. She looked gentle and weak, but she was very decisive and vigorous in her work. She had a good grasp of market trends, followed up on projects promptly, and was sweet-talked, earning praises from customers. She and I often worked overtime together until late at night. Whenever I was physically and mentally exhausted, she would always thoughtfully hand me a late-night snack or a hot drink, and then look at me with a sweet smile. Under Qinzhou's relentless encouragement and everyone's hard work, the company, as a startup with emerging technology, quickly made a name for itself in the industry and received a large wave of investment. The final exams also arrived as scheduled. Qi Shaoxiong seemed to have pulled some strings and sat behind me. As long as I tilted my head slightly, he could see my paper. The bell rang and the exam began. After half an hour, he started to get restless and began to kick my chair. After a while, perhaps seeing that I didn't respond, he became anxious, and a crumpled piece of paper landed directly on my desk. I didn't turn around. I picked up the paper ball and raised my hand without hesitation. Teacher, someone threw a note to me asking me to help them cheat. After I spoke, the originally silent examination room was filled with whispers. The invigilator walked over to me seriously, took the note, glanced at it, and asked with a stern face, "Who threw this?" No one answered, and Qi Shaoxiong stubbornly refused to admit it. No one claims it, right? Then we'll send someone to check the surveillance immediately. If you're caught, the punishment will be even more severe. The teacher raised his voice. I felt Qi Shaoxiong behind me tremble, seemingly undergoing a huge mental struggle. After struggling for a long time, he finally stood up slowly. "I'm sorry, teacher. I was just confused for a moment. This is my first offense, and it's still attempted. Can you just let it go?" He groveled and begged. The surrounding students all looked up at him, their eyes full of contempt. The teacher didn't show him any mercy either. He directly collected his paper and took him away. He didn't appear in the following exams. At this time, the school was strictly enforcing discipline, and Qi Shaoxiong had walked right into it. I thought that with such a big fuss, he wouldn't have time to come after me for revenge in the short term. I didn't expect that as soon as I finished the last exam, I would be taken to the academic affairs office by the teacher. As soon as I entered, I saw him looking at me smugly, his eyes full of provocation. Lin Hui, student Qi Xiaoxiong reported that you actively asked him for a hard work fee and expressed your willingness to help him cheat. Is this true? The teacher from the academic affairs office stared at me sharply, as if looking at a suspect who had just been caught. No, teacher, I didn't take any money from him. Oh, then what is this transfer record? The teacher looked at me with even more suspicion. I took the phone, and the chat record clearly showed that Qi Xiaoxiong had transferred 1,000 yuan to me a week before I was reborn. At that time, it was already many years ago for me. I knew that this was not a hard work fee at all, but I racked my brains and couldn't remember why he had transferred such a sum of money to me. The teacher continued to stare at me with those hawk-like eyes, and my back gradually became soaked with cold sweat. Stop pretending, Lin Hui. Didn't you say you were short on cash recently and wanted me to support your business? I only agreed to help you out of pity. Don't you dare deny it. Shut up, you liar. I didn't do it. What kind of attitude is that? Seeing that we were about to come to blows, the teacher slammed the table hard. Enough! Lin Hui, how do you explain this? I stammered, unable to say anything. My face flushed red. I just wanted to tear Qi Xiaoxiong, this bastard who insisted on dragging others down with him, limb from limb. Teacher, I can vouch for Lin Hui. Just as the stalemate was reached, Qin just suddenly pushed the door open and entered. He patted my shoulder reassuringly. Lin Hui has been busy with work and study lately, and his memory is not very good. This 1,000 yuan was transferred to him by Qi Xiaoxiong to exchange for cash. Everyone in our dorm was there. His words awakened a distant memory in me. Zhou Hui often pestered Qi Xiaoxiong to check his balance. If there was a lot left, she would force him to buy her gifts. Qi Xiaoxiong was so annoyed that he asked people everywhere to exchange cash for him. And Lin Hui has been starting a business with me recently. He doesn't lack money at all, and he wouldn't resort to such dirty tricks to make money. Qinja finished, glancing at Qi Xiaoxiong mockingly. Who are you calling dirty? Qi Xiaoxiong completely lost it, raised his fist, and was about to pounce, but was quickly stopped by the teacher. Qi Xiaoxiong, have you had enough? You cheated and even framed your classmate. I don't think you want to study anymore. The teacher roared at him and waved his hand to signal that we could leave. The moment the door closed, I could still hear Qi Xiaoxiong's tearful pleas. Outside the door, Zhou Hui was waiting anxiously. To my surprise, Ji was also there. She immediately came up to us when she saw us come out. Brother Xiaoyi, are you okay? She looked very anxious and even unconsciously grabbed my sleeve. I'm fine, Xiaoye. It's all resolved. I felt an unknown warmth welling up in my heart and comforted her softly. Before Zhu you could say anything else, Zhou Hui suddenly stood between us and pulled her hand away. Who are you? Why are you acting like you're so familiar with Lin Hui? She asked sharply. Zhu Yu was startled and froze in place. I stepped forward to protect her and pushed Zhou Hui away impatiently. Who are you to be so nosy? Don't forget your official boyfriend is still inside being punished. Zhou Hui looked incredulous, her voice trembling. Lin Hui, how dare you speak to me like that? Don't you like me? If you keep acting like this, I'll really ignore you forever. See, she already knew that I liked her, but in my previous life, she treated my sincere heart like a toy, trampling on it. How could this kind of person deserve my love? I scoffed, looked her up and down with a look like I was looking at garbage. Don't flatter yourself, sister. I feel disgusted just being associated with you. You're better suited to scum like Qi Xiaoxiong. Respect, best wishes, and stay locked up together, huh? Without paying attention to her screams, I grabbed Zhu Yu and turned to leave. Stepping out of the classroom building, I realized I hadn't let go of Zhu Yu's hand. I quickly released it, apologizing with some embarrassment. I suddenly noticed the tips of her ears were red, and she kept her head down, not daring to look at me. Xiaoye, are you okay? I'm fine, Brother Xiao. Are you free this weekend? I'd like to treat you to a meal, she stammered. After I agreed, she left with light steps. Qinja, who had been watching everything from the side, couldn't help but click his tongue. You're favoring beauty over friendship, Lin Hui. Don't forget who got you out of that mess. True friends are kept in the heart. No need for grand expressions of gratitude. We looked at each other and burst into laughter. That night, I treated everyone in the dorm, except Chi Xiaoxiong, to a good meal. Chinja, 7 or 8 parts drunk, threw his arm around my shoulders and shouted, Lin Hui, I knew you were the type to lie low and then make a big splash. From now on, you got to keep it up. Of course I have to keep it up. I need to make big money for our brothers. I laughed and clinked glasses with him, the lingering shadows of the past largely dispelled. Just before the holidays, the announcement of Chi Xiaoxiong's expulsion for serious violation of school rules spread through all the student groups. He was picked up by his parents, who had rushed from the county town. His cries, curses, and shouts echoed throughout the dormitory building. He was truly famous now. Without the opportunity one had given him to study abroad and achieve a class leap, with his negligible abilities, he would probably be stuck in a county town for the rest of his life. Zhou Hui's feelings for Chi Xiaoxiong weren't as deep as I had imagined. She decisively blocked all his contact information and even posted on her WeChat moments that she had broken up with Chi Xiaoxiong long ago and had nothing to do with him. I watched it all, finding it both ironic and amusing. The white moonlight that she couldn't forget even after more than 10 years of marriage to me in my past life had quickly turned into mosquito blood after just a little setback. Truly disgusting true love. Despite my previous cold words, Zhou Hui still hadn't given up. She probably remembered all the tolerance and consideration I had shown her in the past, and ultimately couldn't bear to lose a fairly decent admirer like me. She started bombarding me with messages every day, sending some non-mainstream quotes copied from God knows where, trying to rekindle my feelings for her. I was busy with my studies and work every day, and in my spare time, I had to go out with Zhu Yu, so I had no time to deal with her. Later, I simply blocked her out of sight, out of mind. Soon, graduation was approaching. While others were busy looking for jobs, I had already become the vice president. Chinja's company was much larger than in my previous life, riding the wave of the internet and soaring upwards. It was already a well-known enterprise in the local area and was preparing to open a branch office. My relationship with Zhu Yu was also rapidly warming up. We were not only lovers but also business partners who supported each other. It was only after being with her that I understood what a healthy relationship was. I saw Zhou Hui again, surprisingly, downstairs at the company. She was wearing elaborate makeup, a short skirt, and small heels, her hair meticulously styled. She obviously saw me too, and immediately put on a contemptuous expression. Long time no see, Lin Hui. Are you here for an interview? I glanced at her with disgust and didn't answer. She thought I was admitting it by default and raised her chin at me. Let me tell you, my new boyfriend is the department manager, and he has a lot of power. If you beg me, I'll let him open a back door for you. I laughed, raising my hand to interrupt her. I don't think he has that much ability, so I won't trouble you. She suddenly seemed to be provoked and directly stepped sideways to block my way. What are you so arrogant about, Lin Hui? Just because you had slightly better grades? Now you can't even find a decent job? I wouldn't look at 10 of you wastes. Her voice was loud, and people in the lobby looked over. A man in a black suit hurried over, looking flustered, and bowed to me apologetically. I'm sorry, mister. Lin, my girlfriend, is ignorant and doesn't know how to speak. Please don't take it to heart. Zhou Hui saw the man coming over and thought he was here to support her, so she straightened her back proudly. But after hearing the man's words, the expression on her face instantly cracked. You, what did you call him? This is our company's vice chairman, Lin Hui, mister. Lin, what are you doing? You're embarrassing yourself. Go home. The man growled at her in a low voice. Her face turned red and white. It was quite a sight. I smiled slightly and nodded to the man. Your girlfriend seems a little mentally unstable. If she's not well, don't let her go out, lest she scare other people. Perhaps due to the significant shock, Zhou Hui disappeared from my sight after that. Soon after, I heard that she and that department manager were getting married. I was just wondering if letting Zhou Hui off so easily was too lenient when Zhu Yu pushed open the office door and called me to a meeting. Looking in her gentle, water-like eyes, I suddenly felt a sense of relief. Perhaps being reborn meant letting go of hatred and living my own life well. That was true happiness. In the following days, I worked hard every day. In my spare time, I began to prepare for my wedding with Zhu Yu, kept up with my fitness, and became much stronger than in my previous life. I almost completely forgot the name Zhou Hui. But as it turned out, karma has its way. Some people don't even need you to lift a finger. They'll ruin themselves. It started when Qi Xiaoxiong suddenly returned to the city. His parents owned a mine, and as soon as he came home, he was sent to work as a miner. He couldn't stand that kind of hardship. He didn't last long before stealing money from his family and running back, immediately getting back together with Zhou Hui. Zhou Hui, who was preparing for her wedding, was somehow bewitched by him. She used the betrothal gifts from her fiancé's family to support Qi Xiaoxiong, meeting him secretly every week. Secrets, however, have a way of coming out. Eventually, she was caught red-handed by her fiancé and his family. The two, caught in the act, were recorded in multi-angle videos that were immediately posted and became a trending topic in the city. Zhou Hui's reputation was completely ruined. The project manager, after experiencing all this, was also quite devastated. He submitted his resignation, saying he needed some time to recover. I completely understood his feelings and blamed myself for not warning him about what kind of person Zhou Hui was. So, I instructed HR to give him as much compensation as possible. One day, after work, Zhu Yu and I were walking out of the company building when Zhou Hui suddenly appeared from nowhere and knelt directly in front of me, looking completely crazed. "Lin Hui, it's me. I'm your wife. It's me who should be marrying you, not this woman." Zhu Yu, at my side, gripped my hand tightly in concern. I squeezed back to reassure her and directly kicked Zhou Hui away. "You lunatic, what nonsense are you spouting? I'll call the police if you keep this up." She fell to the side, but quickly scrambled back towards me. "Husband, don't be angry. I won't cause any more trouble. I'll do whatever you say. Just forgive me, okay?" Smack! A slap landed on her face. It was Qi Xiaoxiong, who had rushed over. "Zhou Hui, snap out of it. Do you think Lin Hui still wants you now? Come back home with me. If you give me a son, my parents will definitely forgive me." Zhou Hui was stunned for a moment after being hit. When she reacted, her gaze towards Qi Xiaoxiong was filled with venom. "It's all your fault. It's all your fault, you bastard, for seducing me. You ruined my whole life. I want you to die." She grabbed Qi Xiaoxiong's hair fiercely, and the two began to fight wildly, their struggle growing more and more intense. Finally, they both fell onto the nearby road. The traffic on this road was fast, and a car, unable to brake in time, ran over them, leaving behind a mess of blood and gore. Zhu Yu let out a small scream and hid in my arms, unable to watch any longer. I was also speechless for a moment, my heart filled with mixed emotions. In this life, these two people who had caused my death in the previous life had also met their end in the same way. That night, I dreamed of what happened after my death in my previous life. Zhou Hui hastily disposed of my body and married Qi Xiaoxiong impatiently, not even waiting a month. At the wedding, Zhou Hui was so happy that she shed tears, telling the guests about her long-awaited wish finally coming true. However, after the marriage, she realized that not every man would be willing to do housework and cook for her at home like I did, especially a man as chauvinistic as Qi Xiaoxiong. He forbade her from going out to socialize and discuss business, saying that women should stay at home to take care of their husbands and children, and telling her to reduce her public appearances. Gradually, he stopped her from participating in company affairs and took over the company for himself. Her mother-in-law was also not an easy person to get along with. She was picky about everything and forced her to have a son every day, calling her a hen that couldn't lay eggs. Zhou Hui, who had been carefully cared for by me for so many years, couldn't bear this kind of grievance. She cried and argued with Qi Xiaoxiong. Qi Xiaoxiong, seeing that they were married, stopped pretending to be a good man and directly laid hands on her. The two went to the police station many times, but the cases were dismissed as domestic affairs. Finally, one day, a drunk Qi Xiaoxiong didn't control his strength, and Zhou Hui's head slammed hard against the corner of a sturdy table, and she instantly stopped moving. Zhou Hui died, and Qi Xiaoxiong went to prison. That was their ending in the previous life. It turned out that without me, they couldn't live the happy life they dreamed of. Seeing this mess, I let out a big breath of relief. "Brother, it seems you're doing well." A somewhat familiar voice came from beside me. It was the pale-faced man. "Thank you. I'm doing very well this time." I turned my head and sincerely thanked him. "Don't thank me. This is just an equivalent exchange. Don't forget that you will have a miserable life for the next few lifetimes. Do you really not regret it?" He looked at me inquisitively. No, I don't regret it. Now I just want to live my present life well, I answered firmly. The man nodded and disappeared into smoke. I also woke up from my sleep. Zhu Yu, who was beside me, seemed to sense my movement and turned over to hug me tightly. I looked at her sleeping face, smiled knowingly, and felt extremely at peace. The past hatreds were all settled. I finally lived the happy life I deserved. Even if there are still difficulties and obstacles in the future, as long as I have someone who truly loves me by my side, I believe that light can always break through the darkness.